You've been lied to about the cute, bouncing symbol of Australia. You've seen the cartoons, the tourism posters with the smiling kangaroo, and its Joey tucked safely in the pouch. It's an image of gentle, quirky nature, a brand sold to the world. But that brand is a lie. What happens when that 200-pound bouncing icon decides to stop bouncing and start fighting? The story you're about to hear is true. It's a tragedy about a kind man and the animal he loved. But this isn't a simple case of an animal turning on its owner. This is about an execution. A murder so brutal, so primal, it feels like something ripped from a prehistoric nightmare. If you want to see the terrifying truth behind one of the world's most famous animals, the story starts now. Hit that subscribe button because this is not the Outback you see on TV. Our crime scene is Redmond, Western Australia. This is not the Australia of glittering cities and surf culture. This is the Outback. The heart of a continent that is as ancient as it is unforgiving. Imagine a furnace of red dust and shimmering heat, under a sky so vast it feels like a physical weight. The trees are ghost gums, their white bark peeling, their shapes twisted by a relentless wind. The silence out here isn't peaceful. It's a presence, so total it presses in on you, reminding you just how alone you are. And in this beautiful, brutal isolation, a 77-year-old man named Peter Eads was living out his final years. Peter was a creature of this land, as weathered and resilient as the trees on his 100-acre property. An alpaca farmer by trade, he was known as a quiet, kind man. Someone who found more company in the rustle of leaves than in the chatter of towns. His hands, calloused from a long life of hard work, were impossibly gentle with his animals. He possessed a deep empathy for the wild things that shared his world. And it was this empathy, this deep well of kindness, that would ultimately become his death warrant. A year before the end, he found it. A young, wild western gray kangaroo. Maybe its mother lay dead on the side of a highway. Maybe it was sick, abandoned by its mob. Peter saw a creature in need, and his nature dictated his actions. He took the young male in. He became its protector, its provider, its surrogate mother. He nursed it back to health with a bottle, watched it take its first wobbly hops on his porch. He raised it by hand, gave it the run of his property. It wasn't a wild animal to him anymore. It was family. And in his kindness, he had overlooked a fundamental, immutable law of nature. You cannot domesticate the wild. You can only delay it. September 11th, 2022. A perfect, searingly hot Outback Sunday. A family member's pickup truck kicks up a plume of red dust as it turns down the long track to Peter's farm. The entrance gate is ajar, swinging slightly in the hot breeze. The first small, wrong detail in a day that is about to unravel into horror. As the truck pulls up to the homestead, the quiet is the first thing that hits him. Not the peaceful quiet, the wrong quiet. Peter's dogs, usually a boisterous welcome party, are nowhere to be seen. No welcoming shout from the house. He calls out Peter's name. The sound is swallowed by the vast, indifferent landscape. A flicker of unease turns into a cold dread. He notices the alpacas. They are not grazing peacefully. They are bunched together in the far corner of their paddock, a tight knot of animal anxiety, staring, unblinking, at one spot behind the house. They have seen something. They know. He searches the house first. The kitchen is still. A half-finished cup of tea sits on the table. Cold. A life interrupted. With his heart now pounding a frantic rhythm, he walks outside, around the side of the house, following the gaze of the terrified alpacas. And then, he sees it. A scene so nightmarish, so utterly wrong, it seems to warp the very air around it. Peter Eads is lying on the ground, motionless. He has been subjected to a savage, relentless attack. And standing over him, legs braced, chest puffed out, is the kangaroo. It was not a frightened animal. It was a statue carved from rage and dominance. Its powerful 200-pound frame was coiled like a spring. Its dark eyes, usually soft and curious, were now flat, black, and cold. They were full of ownership. As the horrified relative took a step forward, a deep, guttural clicking noise, a sound of pure reptilian aggression, started in the kangaroo's chest. It rocked back slightly on its massive tail, its hind legs tensed, a clear, unmistakable threat. This is mine. The relative, faced with an animal in a state of full predatory dominance, had no choice but to back away, stumbling for his phone, his fingers trembling as he dialed for help. When the first paramedics arrived, they entered a waking nightmare. They were trained for car crashes and heart attacks, not for a standoff with an alpha predator. Every time they tried to approach Peter's body, the kangaroo would advance. It would drop its head low, let out a harsh, raspy hiss, its powerful arms and long, curved claws twitching. They were trapped, forced to watch their patient from a distance, helpless. The minutes stretched into an eternity. This wasn't just an attack. The animal was actively preventing them from rendering aid. Finally, the police arrived. They sized up the impossible situation. This was no longer a pet. This was a lethal threat. The tragic, necessary decision was made. The sharp crack of a police rifle shattered the Outback silence. The sound was stark, final. The kangaroo shuddered and fell. The paramedics rushed in, but it was a futile, desperate act. Peter Eads was already dead. The battle had been lost long before they arrived. So, what happened? The investigation revealed a story not of betrayal, but of biology. As that young kangaroo Peter had rescued grew, a switch flipped in its brain. A storm of testosterone began to rewire its world. It was no longer a dependent. It was a male boomer, and its entire existence, every fiber of its being, became governed by a primal millions-year-old script. Established dominance. The language of dominance in the kangaroo world is violence. Their fights are brutal, bloody affairs where they use their immense power to grapple, disembowel, and kill their rivals. Peter Eads, in his kindness, never saw the change. He looked at the kangaroo and saw the helpless Joey he had raised. The kangaroo looked at Peter and saw something else entirely. He wasn't seen as a master or a friend. As the kangaroo reached its full power, it saw the 77-year-old man as a rival, the aging king of the territory, the last obstacle on its path to the throne. The final attack was a coup. A bloody, merciless seizure of power, inflicted with weapons designed for one purpose: to rip open the abdomen of an enemy. This was the first fatal kangaroo attack in Australia in 86 years. An anomaly born from a fatal miscalculation. Peter Eads didn't die because an animal turned evil. He died because the love he gave was directed at a creature that could never return it in a language he understood. The wild he learned in his final, terrifying moments cannot be reasoned with. It cannot be tamed. It can only for a time be contained. The silence that fell over his farm that day is a chilling reminder of that truth. If this story has changed the way you see the wild world that exists just beyond our fences, hit that like button and subscribe for more true stories that reveal the untamable heart of nature. Thanks for watching.